Great news, it's dry, and so we're going to be working on that in a minute. But I told you I would show you what the package of deli papers looked like. Now, they may be different where you're from, but here in the USA, they're called deli, D-E-L-I, papers. So when you jelly plate them, I call deli jelly. Anyway, this is what they look like. They come in this package. Grease-resistant sandwich papers. There are 1,000 in here. Boy, if I could use all those up, that would be the coolest thing ever. Anyway, there's 1,000 sheets, 12 by 12. You can get them folded, but I don't like them folded. I love this big sheet. It just has a ton of uses. And even when I cater, when I make food for my students when they come over, I cut these out in shapes and put a little cupcake on one of them. So there's lots of uses. Also, you can use them as tracing paper, and tracing paper is super expensive in the store. It's just crazy expensive. I don't know why, but this is definitely transparent enough. You can see through that beautifully to use as tracing paper. So anyway, lots of uses. It's one of the probably the 10 most useful things I have in my house, and that is deli papers. And I keep them, let me show you, this is the coolest thing. I like to keep them clean, so I found this great plastic container at Michael's. I'm sorry if I mentioned stores you don't have. So sorry for you. No, really, I am. But I think, let's see who makes these. Iris, I-R-I-S, so maybe you can find them online. Alrighty, so here's what we're gonna do. I have a list of things I'm gonna finish up. What I did was usually what I do is I take the edges. Do you see the edges that are kind of white, you know, and the canvas is showing? I often will just paint those edges, and I'll use those kind of triangular shapes. Usually it's a triangular shape. This one, you know, because the paper's bent down here and then we have this little shape left. I will actually use that pattern and just paint in there with some whatever I decide to do. But because this is so busy, there's a lot going on here, I decided to go ahead and do a layer of oh, here, let me find out just what the name of it is. It's probably painted over so much antique copper, there it is, of antique copper, or just whatever you want. I do like a metallic on here, and so I'm going to do that right now. Now, I don't want it to be opaque. Remember those opaque, translucent, and transparent? I don't really want it to be opaque. I don't want it to be that dark. I want to be able to see the papers a little bit underneath. So I'm going to take a paintbrush, and I'm just going to make sure that my paint is watered down a little bit. And I'm going to just do one. I just left one here that's undone. And I'm going to paint right over that, making sure it's kind of see-through, but it gives more of a solid look to the sides. Think of what it would look like on the sides if it were too busy. We don't want too busy. Alrighty, getting that done. All right, so then what I did was I came over the top just a little bit, because it's creating, and my fingers have to be clean because I'm going to come in here and do this, and it's creating kind of a frame for the piece. I'm going to get my brush cleaned up a little bit and kind of let it go on into the piece. Now, one thing I found that I really like is I came behind these wings because they're kind of getting lost. So I want them to be a little bit of a secret, but not so much. And I'm coming in with this darker paint, and I'm painting. You can see what I'm doing. I'm just on the top making it a little darker. And that was kind of a happy accident, because when I was painting this side here with this nice bronze, I came up on the piece and I thought, oh, I'm kind of liking that. And so I'm going to tell you probably at least 50% of what I do are happy accidents. And I kind of teach myself as I go. Okay, there. And that really makes that pop a little bit more. Kind of brings it out. This is kind of a hard edge for me. Did you see how that was a hard edge? It kind of ended too abruptly. So I'm just going to soften it and bring it down a little bit. A little bit down here. Alrighty, see if I like that. I have to look at it, you know, for a few days sometimes and decide, yeah, I like that. My paintings that are important, the paintings that will be copied and made into prints or giclées, I often carry those around with me from room to room for a couple of weeks actually. I wake up in the morning and they're right there on top of my bookshelf. And I open up my eyes and look at that first thing. I'll put them upside down. I'll look at them in a mirror. I like to really study them, and they're not always done for days. And then I might add just a little bit that makes a huge difference. Now here's something I'm going to do right now. I'm going to use the Distress ink. Yeah, I think I will. Let me think about this for a minute. Actually, I'm going to stencil first. I have to do this in order. The reason I have to do it in order is because the Distress ink is not waterproof. It moves around. And if I stencil on top with white on top of a brown Distress ink, my white's going to turn brown, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm just using a white, just a basic white paint, nothing fancy. And I'm going to get one of my little stencil brushes. Aren't they cute in this? This is a tiny creamer, and I probably use this much cream in 1 cup of coffee, just saying. And so this would be like a personal creamer, not like for a group. So actually it's too small for me. I need like a pretty big creamer. So I just put my little stencil brushes in there. And so I'm going to pick out a medium size one. Love these ones. These are big and juicy. Stencil brushes, you got to keep them clean and dry. You have to get a dry stencil brush. And I'm going to pull up some of this paint that I put out earlier. And again, it's the favorite stencil that everybody steals. And I like to take a little bit of the paint off. Make sure I have enough on, but then I take it off. And just do a little bit in here. And this is going to change so much. Just that area right there. I love this stencil. You do not want too much paint when you stencil. It looks gloppy. You know, I'm going to nag about this one. It looks gloppy and unprofessional, and it looks like you're a sloppy stenciler. Do not use too much paint. It goes underneath the stencil and it's nasty. I don't do it very much, but some stencil artists suggest using a makeup sponge, and I haven't done it yet, so I'm not gonna experiment in front of you. I've embarrassed myself enough by losing certain things. Okay, now here's what's going on. This is a perfect teaching time right now. Right here, we have this stuff. Remember? Our Inca Gold, and I put white paint on top of it, and now it's pink. And I really didn't want pink in this project. So what I could have done was, in between layers, I could spray with a varnish and set every layer. But because I'm teaching here, I didn't do that. So that's an option, to get a varnish in between the layers. But then you get this sealed surface it's not porous and it doesn't take things the same. So mixed media is not for the faint-hearted. There's a lot of experimenting that has to go on. I can tell you there have been things I've painted on top of probably 10 times because I didn't like them. And I'm not a perfectionist. So I've got pink on this. I don't want to continue that. I'm going to pop that in the water. And I'm going to pick up another stencil brush. And I'm going to go somewhere else that doesn't have the red, right here. And just, oh, you know what? I really like this stencil, this letter one. And I'm going to go ahead and do some of that. And you see, I don't pounce. There's some of that. How many layers do you think we've done? Just so many. Okay, and that's it for the stenciling. I make sure my stencil brushes get cleaned. And if you weren't here, I would go ahead and throw this in the sink and take care of it, but I'm not gonna worry about it right now. Someday I'll clean off my stencils. Today's not that day. Okay, I would like to gild the edges here a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this bronze. Oh, I've already got it out here. The one I already used for the sides. And I'm gonna come in, I think I'm actually gonna do it with a stencil brush. And I'm gonna pick up some of that bronze paint and I'm just gonna come along the edges. Let me see if that is not bright enough for me. Get rid of that paintbrush. I'm gonna find a gold that's a little brighter. You could even do glitter edges. I don't think I'm gonna do that today. I'm gonna pick up a champagne color. I don't know. Ooh, that's got lots of goop in it. Let me just shake that up. Alrighty, let's see. Let's see what comes out of here. That might work. Let's see about that. I'm not much of a silver fan, and that's kind of a silver. Let's see what that does to the edges. Is that bright enough for me? I don't know. Yeah, I kind of like it. It's subtle. It kind of picks up the cream colors. It's really reflective. So I'm going to just go ahead and touch up the edges with that. You know, remember we dirtied the edges and we put some white on there, and now we're putting, boy, it's a lot of layers, isn't it? Like I said in the intro, lots of layers. Lots and lots of layers. I'm even going to take a little bit of this and put it on the edges. How about that? Just to make things connect a little bit more. This doesn't really change the color of the edges, just kind of the layers of it. It just looks a little deeper. Not deeper, darker, but just like it has more layers. It's like a deeper pool of water. You know, it's funny, I went to a meeting the other day, and it was a board meeting that I have to go to, and there's 30 different artists that are on this in this co-op, and there's a lot of not arguing, but just a lot of heated discussion sometimes. I love every one of these persons, but sometimes I want to go away, and there's a beautiful painting of a pool of water. It was a deep pool of water, and I found myself staring at that painting a lot because it was so tranquil. In that room that there was lots of discussion and sometimes discord. I found myself it was in an art gallery actually, and so I was just looking at a piece of art there, and I wanted to find a peaceful place. And in your painting, you know, there's a lot going on here, and it's nice to find a peaceful place. And I don't know if I've created it yet here in this painting. I don't have the peaceful place yet. There's just lots going on. So I think what I'm going to do right now, I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'm going to come in on this heart, and I think I'm actually, let's do this. I'm going to take some of this Distress ink. It's the Wild Honey. And what I like to do is you can rub it on, but I like a little bit more control. And so I actually put some out somewhere, and sometimes that's just my tabletop. And I want to separate the back from here. And there's several ways to separate. I tried using the paper, the music paper. That worked. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to pick this up, and I'm going to warm up the heart. And I'm going to separate this heart from the background by temperature now. Look at the one side. I just did one side. Do you see the difference? It's a huge difference between this side and this and that. It's a big difference. I'm not going to go over the word love. I think I'm going to let the word love stay kind of white. Ooh, I tell you what, this is magic. This is one tool I couldn't be without, is this Distress ink. And I could actually, if I was doing watercolor, I would put quinacridone gold watercolor, and you can try that, Quin Gold. And I think Winsor & Newton makes that, Daniel Smith. And I think I'm gonna do a little bit more of this. It's so funny, it's called Distress Stain, but it does not distress me. It actually, it calms me. When I put this on, this warm, oh, I love it so much. So now we're dividing the back from the front by warming up what's in the front. And generally when you're painting, things that are warm are closer to you. And as it goes back on the plane, it's cooler. And that's exactly what we did. And I am super loving that. I have a little bit on my brush. I'm just gonna put a little bit on the wings. Not too much, because there's not much on there. That's my happy place. I'm so loving that. So we've got cool and warm. We've got smooth and rough. We've got darks. And we've got lights. And so to bring out the love, more, I'm going to use a Sharpie pen. And I'm simply, and doesn't have anything that's going to hurt this pen. If this was paint, I would ruin my pen. But I'm going to come around the edge of the love, and I'm going to go around the edge. I'm not trying to be perfect. When you do things that are scruffy like this, what you're saying to the viewer is, please don't take me too seriously. Please let me be kind of spontaneous and not quite perfect. And when you create a piece that's, I mean, if you want all the lines to be perfect and the colors to match, you're setting up a trap for yourself. And if from the very beginning you kind of just wing it and put things on there, but keep in mind good art rules. You know, you need to know the rules so you can break the rules. The rules are like colors. Remember, I picked 3 colors. The rules are doing contrast, and those kind of things. The things we've talked about, value is light and dark and contrast, colors, hues, having like shapes go throughout your piece. Those are the rules, but you keep those rules and you can break other rules. When I teach young students, they want to break the rules right away because they think that's cool and that's what artists could do. And I said, you need to prove to me you know the rules first, and then you can break them, because artists by nature are rule breakers, and I encourage you to break the rules, but learn some first. Okay, so I think this needs to be a little darker. I'm just going to come in and do a little darker. I love little doodad dots. Oops, there's a little bead. So I just come in and they seem random, but I've done them for so many years. I kind of know what I'm doing. I like to do things in groups of 5. I like to do little twirly things. That seems too dark for me. I'm gonna spin on it and lift it, see if I can lift it. And if I can't get it off, what I'll do is I'll just come and put some white over that. I'm gonna go ahead, oops, is that wet? It sure is. See, this is why I ruined my pen, you guys. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and come in and I'm gonna define this flower a little bit. Again, doing it kind of scruffy. You can see my table is just another workspace, another palette. Inking really says to people, I am playing. Play with me. I'm going to put some dots in here. That fun. Give you a good look at all of that fun stuff going on. It's rich. It's so rich. Now, if I would have judged it at the end of the other section, the last section, I would have said, I've missed it on this piece. But just a few little things have made it different. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to introduce some blue. I'm getting my finger wet here. These have dried out. I'm going to introduce a little bit of blue on the sides. Still trying to make it one seamless piece on the sides. Just one metallic, different colors of metallic. You're probably thinking, when does she stop? I need the person with the hammer. The artist and the person with the hammer are the team, right? It takes the artist to do it and then the person with the hammer to say, stop. So actually, I think at that point, I'm going to stop. Oh, see, I said I was going to, but I need a clean finger. I'm going to go over this black just a little bit. It's a little bright for me. Okay, do you remember that we talked about putting on your little key Oops, you think I need to wash my fingers? To me, that's a beautiful thing. That's like a worn out pair of jeans. You don't want to throw it out. But I am going to clean my fingers a little bit because I'm going to touch the key and the string and stuff right now. Okay, do you remember we talked about putting that key on there after we varnish? I'm just going to show you real quick how I put the key on. So what I would do, I would take some of my tacky glue and I would stick it under the button. I did say let the button not touch the top perfectly, but you could not touch the top completely. I mean, not touch the heart completely, sorry. But this button did touch the heart on that side. It's not on it on this side though. So it does have a little bit of a gap. And so what I would do, and I'm not going to do this now, but I'm going to do this after I varnish, is I would take some tacky glue and put it underneath there. It doesn't have to have sound effects. Now, think about where we want to hang our key. I don't want to hang my key so it ends right with the edge. The reason being, in art, when two things touch like that, that's a tangent, and it's psychologically uncomfortable in art. It's visually uncomfortable and psychologically uncomfortable. I can't even say it, but I said it once right, so I'm going to leave it at that. You want things to overlap, or you want things to not touch. So the tendency for a new artist is you say, I want that key to go right to the edge of that, to hang right on the edge. But we don't want that. And I don't want it longer. I'm going to make it shorter. So just pretend there's glue in there, and I would just take that around one time and cut it off, and it's just going to hang there. And I don't want it, I'm going to cut that string off. I want it to be up a little bit higher than the bottom of the painting. But because I have to varnish it, I don't want to do that right now. So at this point, what I would do is I would take some of my spray stuff. It doesn't, there's different kinds. You can get a matte one, which is not shiny, or get a shiny one. These are just two I pick up in my local shop. This one, Kamar Varnish, it's pretty, it seals it. And there's one, this one's matte, clear acrylic sealer matte. Don't keep these in the cold. You need to keep them in your house and not like in your garage or in like a place that's not heated or gets really hot. They need to be room temperature. Basically, you shake them up really good, and I told you how to spray it, like that. And then I'm going to show you how I varnish. I'm not going to varnish this piece because I haven't sprayed it yet because I just finished it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up another piece, and I'm going to show you how I varnish a piece. Okay, here's a piece that's actually already varnished, but I'm going to do it again and show you how I do that, because some people, that's a mystery to them. I think it was to me too. I just get, these are coffee lids from like, you know, a can of coffee, and I just kind of put a foot down there. All right, and there's a piece. I'll show it to you. Alrighty. And I get my soft varnish brush, which is where? Oh, here it is. It's not an expensive brush because it's going to get ruined probably. You have to really, really clean a varnish brush, or else it like gets stiff, because that's the purpose of varnish, right? It's to really protect. And then I'm going to grab a pair of gloves because the varnish doesn't want to come off my hand. And I usually just use one. I'm right-handed, so I'll just do one on my right hand. I feel a little surgeon-like when I do this. But just for a second. There we go. That's fun. I've always wanted to do that. And then, to be honest with you, I just kind of take my varnish and I pour it on. I'll do the sides first sometimes, and then I'll do the top. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and pour on my varnish, and I'm going to pick it up, and I'm going to do the sides. This is a gel plated piece, by the way, and it's all one piece. I think the words are separate, but this whole thing is one piece. That's when I gel plated it in one piece. I thought it had to be done in one piece. Now it's like, no, rip it up. Okay, that's done. That was easy, hey? And then I'm gonna come and do another layer, close up my my varnish. This does not smell. This particular one doesn't smell. The spray stuff, I do it outside because it's nasty, toxic, and I have to, when it's snowy, I take it in my garage and do it. And it's cold out there. And then I just do, once I make sure it's covered, I just do some random strokes, because sometimes you can see the strokes, and that's okay. That's not anything to be upset about. It's a mixed media, you know. Don't get your panties in a bunch about that one. Alrighty, so what happens, varnish wants to go south for the winter. It wants to run down the sides of my piece. And so I'm gonna put this in the water right now. It's getting kind of crowded in here. And then in 10 minutes, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come back to this piece and I'm gonna take another brush. I'm just gonna take a soft brush, and there will be drips on the corners, and I let them drip in this tray. That's what this tray is for. And I will come and I will just remove those drips in the corners of my piece. Removing the drips. And so, oh, I see a big drip right here on the side, so I'm just gonna come and smooth that out. And this is after 10 minutes. I give it time to run. You can even water this varnish down and actually pour it on and let it pour over the sides. But I haven't learned. I have a mosaicist friend, a mosaic artist friend, and she does that, but I find that it kind of, on my paintings, kind of pools over here. Now, it's not the worst thing if you have a drip, but you know, if you can prevent it, that's fine. And then I put this in the water right away. Okay, and that is how I varnish. And I didn't, actually, you know what, I think I touched it with my left hand, and I have my glove on my right hand. So, I don't know what that means. Maybe I need to put gloves on both hands. I'm gonna stick that over there, let that dry. Sometimes I let it dry outside, and I'll come out in my garden, I let it dry on my picnic table, and there'll be a bug in there. So when I sell my painting, I'll say, mixed media and DNA. Poor bug. So that's all we're gonna do on that. I'm gonna varnish that. I'm gonna put that key on there. And then if I want to, I'll put a wire on here to hang. When it's this small, I don't usually do that. I just let it hang like that. I'm gonna sign my piece, and I do that with a Sharpie in the corner. Just advice to you, sometimes people wanna frame things, so don't sign way down here. Sign up in here. In fact, I think I'll sign it right now while you're here to show you how I do that. And I often make my signature part of the work. And interestingly enough, my name is Vafiatis, and in Greek it means to paint. Isn't that cool? And so I think I'm going to sign it right where the heart is. I'm really proud of my last name. That's my husband's name. And people bring things back because I forget to sign them because they really want a signature on there. So don't be afraid to call yourself an artist. Don't be afraid to sign your work. Make it your own. Alrighty? I think that's it. Let me do my checklist. Yep, I think I've showed you everything. What a fun piece. Thanks, I've loved being with you.